The Polish language is going to have some spelling and grammar reforms which are going to take place from January the 1st, 2026. We're right now on the website which pretty much controls how the Polish language works, the Council of the Polish Language pretty much, and we can look at this and see that it was dated on the 10th of May 2024. So as I'm recording this video 1 week today, as I'm recording it on the 17th, I was a little bit late to seeing this because I saw this literally yesterday on the 16th, but it's still pretty new news in the grand scheme of things. And to make this easy, I will translate the entire page into English so we can read it together. Guys, before we get into this, please just bear with me. I've literally just recorded this entire video. I've just spent over an hour recording this video and talking about things just to realize that my microphone wasn't working on the program. And I'm just going to double check now. It all seems to be working fine right now, so please bear with me. My voice is a little bit sore and tired now, but we're going to go through this and I'm going to try and talk about these points again. Some of the points I don't fully understand, others I will talk about as much as I can, because I think this is interesting that a language which is working at the moment is going to have changes implemented into it which are going to effectively be official changes in the language, how the language is written, and pretty much it. I think the spoken language is pretty much going to stay the same, but yeah, this is the preface of the whole thing. It explains why they've decided to do this. It's not really that important or that interesting to me personally. The important and interesting things personally is just what's actually going to take place from January the 1st, 2026. So we're going to go through these points. I'm going to try not to take too long on each point because the points do take a while, or I can take a while on each point. So I'm just going to try and just talk about them quickly. A lot of these are going to talk about capitalization. So point number 1 is going to be capitalize the names of inhabitants of cities and the districts, housing estates and villages. And it's got some examples here. And if I go back into the original Polish, you can see these are the words here. In Polish at the moment, you don't need to capitalize people's names, names of cities, names of towns, or pretty much anything like that. Unlike in English where you would capitalize, for example, my name, Jamie, in Polish you could write it with a lowercase j, for example. It's the same, yeah, for like cities and everything like that. So obviously from this date, the 1st of January 2026, it will be pretty much the standard that you would need to capitalize your places and people. Still on point number 1, allowing alternative writing, lower or uppercase, of unofficial ethnic names such as the names provided here. So in some cases apparently they're giving exceptions where you can accept lowercase or uppercase with certain unofficial ethnic names. Not really sure exactly why they would do this, why they wouldn't just give capitalization to all names. It's a bit confusing to me, but that's what it reads here. And that's pretty much it for the first point. Down to point number 2, the introduction of capital letters not only for the names of companies and brands of industrial products, but also for individual items of these products. So it's got an example here, a Ford car and a red Ford car parked under the window. So again, if we go back into Polish, you can see Ford has a capital F, whereas at the moment, same as with people's names and with city names and stuff, yeah, like Ford doesn't necessarily have to have a capital F, and that goes for like pretty much any product or brand or whatever. So that's just pretty much same as point number 1, but point number 2, I guess I have to kind of specify that you have to capitalize your company and brand names as well as pretty much what it says here, individual items of these products as well. Number 3, introducing separate spellings of particles here, which I'll show in a minute, with conjunctions. So this one is a bit difficult to show without having it in the original Polish. Pretty much the particles bim, bish, by, bishme and bishcie can be now separate words. In this example we have zastanawiam się, czy by nie pojechać w górę. This by doesn't normally, or I'm pretty sure I've never seen it as like a standalone word before, because normally it's attached to the verb, which in this case would be pojechać. Pojechać is now in the infinitive, which is the unchanged version of the verb, and this would go not just for by, but also apparently for bim, bish, bishme, bishcie as well. So if we look over at this table here, we can see that obviously we have pojechać, at the top here, And then we have all the different forms, or at least a lot of different forms from the verb. There's probably more than this, but there's a lot. And you can see, if you can understand this, pretty much first person, second person, third person in singular. We have first, second, third in the plural. We then also have different forms here. I won't go through them all, but pretty much you can see, for example, here we have bistje as an ending, whereas with this new rule, it's pretty much going to say that bistje can be its own standalone word, and the first part of this will be its own standalone word as well. I don't know if this is a definite or whether it's more of a personal choice, but this is what it reads. Here you can see bim as an ending. You can see bish as an ending there. You can also see beer as an ending here. So these are endings, pretty much particles that go on the end of words to give more information about who or what is pretty much doing the verb or being done to the verb, pretty much depending on context and everything, of course, but they give information about the verb anyway. And something like Polish, there's a lot of information in verbs with prefixes and suffixes, and this is pretty much it. And here it's saying that these can be separate words now, beer, whereas previously beer would not have been a separate word and it would have been plonked onto the end of pojechać. Point number 4 and point number 5, I don't know if I fully understand these points, but I'll quickly go over them anyway. I would like you guys to let me know in the comment section if you have any ideas about what these might mean, or if I'm incorrect about what I might think about these points, and I'll show you the Polish as well, so you can read it in the original Polish and see if you can interpret this any differently to what the translation is currently giving me. But we have establishing an exception-free conjunctive spelling, not with conjugated participles, regardless of the meaning interpretation, i.e. abolishing the exception allowing for conscious separable spelling. So I'm not really sure what that means. I can't even really give much of a thought right now as I'm recording this video. Like with most things, I'll probably end up editing the video and then realize after editing the video that's obviously what it means, and it's a little bit more clear. As I'm right now recording this video, I don't quite understand the meaning of number 4. Number 5 is a little bit similar as well in that respect. Unification of the writing in lowercase of adjectives derived from personal names ending in ovski, regardless of whether their interpretation is possessive, answering the question whose, or qualitative, answering the question which is to do with cases in Polish, which is a little bit advanced for my level. I don't really understand cases that well, but we have some examples here, and in the original Polish these examples are all lowercase. I'm not quite sure if it means you can keep these names lowercase because they're foreign names that have been pretty much policized and they've added on the ovski ending. So I'm not sure if the ovski ending is to do with answering the question of whose or which, in regards to adding on to the end of, for example here, Shakespeareowski for Shakespeare, but Shakespeareowski is only one form of possibly 14 or 15 other potential ways to write this name, as are all names and adjectives and whatever else in Polish. So yeah, just reading this, I didn't quite fully understand what point number 4 or number 5 was trying to make. There's some other bits here on the end of number 5, pretty much just saying that words with these endings as well don't have to be capitalized. I'm not really sure though. It can be accepted as capitalized or lowercase, but in the really specific situation that these are names, less often surnames, ending in these particular endings of an archaic nature, which to me says that these are more older names, of course. They could just be accepted lowercase, uppercase. It seems like it doesn't really matter too much for these particular exceptions. So again, if you can speak Polish and if you can just interpret these better than I can currently, please let me know, because I'm a bit confused about point number 4 and number 5. And with that, we're going to move on to number 6. Introduction of the combined spelling of hyphen in expressions such as here, where we go back to Polish. We can see, for example, we have 6 here, and we can see the first one is pół zabawa. We also have pół nauka, pół żartem, pół serio, pół spał, and pół czuwał, which at the moment, as Polish is currently written, Paul, P-O-W, P or W, these first three letters. Paul is its own standalone word, which means half. And then it would be followed by words such as nauka, which is like learning or science or something like that. Here, like żartem, which is like joke. So you have like Paul, which is half, and then the word that follows. And currently these are two separate words which just have like a meaning. Whereas now it's saying that pretty much you can make these into one word, one longer word, with Paul pretty much being a prefix to the adjective or whatever that goes with it. For example, zabawa or nauka, żartem, serio, etc. So pretty much they're just attaching these two individual words into one word, which would be slightly longer by 3 letters. I quite like this, to be fair. The only exception here apparently is that if you have something here, for example, Paul Polka or Paul Francuska, you need to put one of these little dashes, a little hyphen, if the second part of it after Paul begins with a capital letter, such as Polka, which has a capital P now because of the new rules of capitalizing languages and cities and pretty much everything like that, like you do in English. And also here in this example, Paul Francuska. And that's pretty much because if you look at it like this, it looks a little bit clunky, a little bit quirky to like have a capital F in the middle of a word, like a capital letter in general. This is something that Polish doesn't do. This is something that Slavic languages doesn't do. It's something that you'll see in something like Irish or other Celtic languages, but certainly not in Slavic languages. And so they decided not to opt in for this, and instead they just say, let's just put a little hyphen in between. It shows that two words have been kind of brought together, and you can still kind of understand there's two words, and then you understand better why there's a capital F in the middle of a word. So in this situation, they're still bringing the words technically together, but there's still going to be a little hyphen to signify that the next word is pretty much capitalized. Number 7, allowing 3 spelling variations or versions in pairs of equivalent words that sound similar or identical, usually appearing together. So back into Polish, we can see, for example, tush tush is the same word twice, so it can be accepted with a hyphen in between, with a comma in between, or just with nothing in between. We also have this word, which I find a little bit odd to pronounce. Would it be Tshask Prask? And that would again be with a hyphen, comma, or nothing. And then we have the last pair here again, which sounds similar. Again, either separated by a hyphen, by a comma, or by nothing. I think by a comma would be a bit confusing because commas are used for slightly other things as well. But pretty much you can spell these words or put punctuation in these groups of words accordingly. You can officially use the hyphen, comma, or just nothing, depending on your personal preference as a writer. And on to point number 8, we've got regarding the use of capital letters in proper names. Again, we're back to capital letters. And so things such as names of comets, Halley's Comet, for example, would be now capitalized right there in Polish. Introduction or capitalization of all elements of multi-word geographical and place names, the second part of which is a noun in the nominative case, such as the Sea of Marmara, the Gobi Desert, these things which if you look at them in Polish, you can see, for example, Pustina, Gobi. So right here it's actually confirming that you capitalize both, like sea in this case, Morza and Marmara, but also when it's followed with a second word, it'll just be in the typical nominative case. In this case, Marmara, it just stays in the base form of the nominative. It doesn't change form at the end to be like Marmari or something like that. So that's kind of confirming two things, not just the capitalization, which it needs to be, but also the use of the noun in the nominative case, which is the second part of like the 2-word, I guess, phrase or something. Okay, so point C here is pretty much saying for like street names and park names and that kind of thing. They want capitalization on pretty much names of streets and signs and that kind of thing. Cmentarz or pomnik or brama. These words are words that are usually used within like park names and street names and stuff. But the word ulica here, which means street, will stay uncapitalized. So ulica is not, I guess, the main part of the like street name, I guess. And the main part of the street name would be, for example, Zamek geschange, as it says here. Both words are now capitalized, zamek and geschange. But right here you have like Brama Warszawska, which is Warsaw Gate, I guess, and Brama and Warszawska as capital B and W respectively, but ulica, which will be in front of those two words, that's how it's just done in Polish. You'll have ulica, Brama Warszawska. Ulica would still be in the lowercase, and typically ulica is just abbreviated to UL, and that would also be lowercase as well. So that's pretty much just covering names of streets and that kind of thing. Another rule to do with introducing capitalization to elements of names, pretty much there's a multi-word name of a service, catering business, probably someone's name, unless it's a preposition or conjunction such as this word pod, which means under, then you're gonna capitalize aptetka and orwem respectively. Restauracja, żaglami, both capitalized. Pretty much it's just another capitalization thing. Introducing the capitalization of all elements in names of orders, medals, decorations, awards, honorary titles, etc. So again, this is just capitalizing pretty much things such as we have in English already. You can see in the examples here, I think you get the idea by now, the capitalization thing. As I say, there's a lot of changes when it comes to capitalization because it doesn't really exist much in Polish apart from when it's at the beginning of a sentence currently. So obviously they're just trying to put all the rules in place properly for people to be able to read this and understand, because obviously there's a whole nation here of people who are now going to have to kind of adapt to new rules in their own language, which is probably going to take a while because they've been used to writing a certain way for their pretty much entire lives. Regarding the spelling of prefixes, supplementing the general rule in Polish, prefixes, native and foreign, are written together with words written in lowercase. If a word begins with a capital letter, a hyphen is placed after the prefix, with an example right there. So again, similar to what we spoke about earlier, if you've got a capital letter, put a hyphen. Here it also says it allows the separate spellings of particles such as super, extra, mini, maxi, midi, mega, macro, etc., which can also appear as independent words. And then it gives examples here as well. So you've just got like super pomysl, lub super pomysl. So you've got like one way without a space or another way with a space. Again, similar to what we've already seen. I guess points that I just really have to explain in detail and about like certain specifics. But here we can just see what we've already read previously. I'm not sure, but I think number 10 might be a little bit of like a scientific thing more than anything, because I've not seen these prefixes before in words, but I'll read it out anyway. Introduction of a uniform spelling of kasi and kasi, which is the same word, particles with words written in lowercase, e.g., and then you've got these examples here, which again I'll show in Polish. Just here, and that's why it's the same word, because in the original Polish we have nibi and then kasi, or kwasi maybe, nibi, kwasi. But I've never seen a Polish word begin with nibi or kwasi like these, and I don't know if these are meant to be like scientific words or pretty much I don't know what these words mean. I'm not quite sure what kwasi, nibi. I've never seen these before. I don't think these are ultra common or whatever. But do let me know again if it's something that I'm missing. In the comment section is where you can let me know anything I might have missed right here. Unless of course it could be like peoples, because you got like quasi Anglia. It could be like half and half, like if quasi, kasi, however it's said. If that is a, I don't know, a certain group of people, ethnic group or something, which I've never heard of before. I'm not really too sure. Yeah, do let me know on that one, because I'm a little bit confused on number 10. Number 11, we have introducing the combined spelling of nie with adjectives and adjectival adverbs regardless of the degree, category, i.e. also in the comparative and superlative degrees, e.g. all of these words, which again you have to see in the original. You have, like, for example, nie miłe, which same as the pool as we had earlier, nie is a negation word for those who don't know, and nie is currently a standalone word, and you see nie, then a space, and then miłe, and then the same as this one, nie space milsie, and it's the same for every single word right here, as well as any other word that you could put after nie. Which is a whole term, because nie just means no or not, and so you can pretty much put that in front of so many adjectives and like whatever nouns or whatever to like create a negation in Polish, whereas now it's accepting the negation as being part of the word itself, again attached onto the word, as opposed to you know, two separate words. So you can see from these examples that these will be the new ways to spell these particular words if you're going to negate any of these words, like często, which is often, it would be nie często instead of nie space często, which again in speech you just would say it like it's one word anyway, and that's pretty much how like the language is spoken. That's not really just a Polish thing, that's something that all languages have. They'll just speak as if words are all blended together. So when you're speaking, you'll just say like nie miłe, nie często, like you wouldn't say nie często, for example. So it's just combining the written language into one word, where it probably meets the spoken language better, so that it's easier for people maybe to hear spoken language and then write down into written language as well. And that is the 11 new changes and rules, and I think that's everything on the website that I can go over. I was really worried actually kind of when I first saw this, because I thought maybe they're going to remove certain things that make Polish so Polish. Maybe they were going to remove the w character, the on, the eon characters. Maybe they were going to remove certain prefixes such as psie, sz, cz, or whatever. You know, those really Polish looking prefixes or whatever, like something to really drastically change the language. I'm going to give my opinion on this. For the most part, this doesn't really change a lot. Capitalization can pretty much clear half of this board. Then there's a few other things which don't really make sense to me, so they can go. And then the only real 2 points that I got here that I could like that stand out to me is just words that are in negation, or just like have the nie beginning or the pool beginning. These words are just going to collapse into one word as opposed to two like individual words, which I think is a cool idea. It doesn't change much, to be honest, but I think it's cool to see even longer words. Just looks more complicated for people who are trying to learn the language. But as soon as you understand how the language works, it's quite cool seeing like all these individual parts of the word and how they attach together to create this bigger meaning. So to be honest, like there is changes to the Polish language and everything. I don't think it's going to be the biggest thing, which I'm quite relieved about, because as I say, I was worried they were going to remove something like super Polish from the language, and then the language wouldn't feel quite as authentic as it currently does. But I don't think this changes a lot. I don't think there's going to be many people maybe who are going to be like annoyed at this. I'm not really too sure. So yeah, that's pretty much going to be it for this video. If you're Polish, which I assume maybe a lot of people are who are watching this video, please let me know in the comment section below what you thought about these changes, or what you currently think about these changes, I guess. Also, yeah, like I said, there's like a good 3 or 4 points on here which I probably didn't like get right, or I mean there's point 4, 5 and 10 which I don't understand. So again, if you understand what these points are trying to convey, please let me know in the comment section. I would like to be able to understand them better. Just as I read them currently in my own head, they just don't make sense to me. So any kind of help to help me understand those would be appreciated. Although, as I say, I think the biggest takeaway from this is that there's going to be probably more hyphens and more collapsing of words such as pool and nie, beginnings of words that are just going to turn into one word as opposed to two. Let me know if you think this is going to make much of a difference in your day-to-day lives, again if you're Polish, and that's pretty much it. Thank you guys for watching this video, and I'll catch you all in the next one. Until then, have a great one, and peace out.